I want to go over one stick climbing, more specifically my gear setup, all the way from what I'm carrying on me to climbing up the tree. I guess starting with my saddle. This is an H2 saddle, but the type of saddle that you have doesn't really matter. Over here, I've got my tether. This might look like kind of a conglomeration of rope, but I just daisy chained it up to save space. It's just like a typical tether. Over here I got my Ropeman One quick link carabiner, and then I've got another quick link carabiner on the end, and this is what I actually use to wrap around the tree. This is when you stop listening to me because I'm not a certified safety person. I use a quick link on the end of my tether so that I wrap it around the tree, and then I double loop it, and I do it on a certain angle so that it distributes the pressure right. Technically, they have a tool for this that is able to handle side loading better than a carabiner. So anyways, so to daisy chain it, pretty much all I do is I make a loop, and then I pull the rope through that loop, which makes another loop, so on and so forth. When you get to the end, you just take the end of your rope. There you go. So I always have this just kind of clipped on my side, ready to go. On this side, this is more the business side of things. So in this pouch, I have my rappel rope. My rappel rope is also my lineman's rope. But, so this is about, I think, 40 foot of rope or so. So I've got that. And then on the end of my rope is a quick link carabiner. So again, this is so I can quickly put it around a tree when I'm rappelling out, or I use it as my lineman's as well, so I can wrap around the tree, clip it in for my lineman's. Now I've got a prusik attached to this so that I can rappel out of the tree, and also so that it can grab when I'm on the tree and I'm using it for my lineman's rope. This prusik is actually tied in with another quick link carabiner so that when I rappel down, I can take off my prusik line, pull my rope out, so on and so forth. And then I also have my little paracord. I got a weight on the end, carabiner. This probably all looks confusing, but once I start climbing, it'll hopefully make more sense. So that's my setup. And then for my stick, so no matter what stick you have, doesn't really matter. What you do need, in my opinion, to easily one stick climb is you need to have the cam cleat system on your stick. It's really not going to be easy to do if you don't have a cam cleat system on your stick. And so this is the Muddy Pro stick. I've got a 2-step aider on the end of it made out of AM steel. I actually made that myself. I'll have to make a video sometime on how to do that. I love this stick, one, because the steps fold up, and that's useful sometimes when you're climbing to get your rope around the step without getting it snagged. Also, another thing I did, and I'll show you a close-up, but I wrapped some tape around the middle of this cam cleat so that when I've got my rope in it and I'm pulling it out when I'm going up the tree, and go like that, normally there's a snap. You pull the rope out and you hear snap. But when I put that tape around the middle, it silenced that. So that's just a little tip for you. I can't remember who I got that from, but it's not original. Obviously this tree is not an optimal tree. It's a little tore up, but don't really matter too much. What I do is I always start out by putting my stick around head level, and this is about not the kind of tree I would typically climb. One, it's got noisy bark, so when you put your stick on and then you pull it down, you can make noise, and you don't really want to do that when you're hunting. So I usually climb smooth bark trees if I can. Two, this is a little big around of a tree. You don't want to get up there and you're hugging the tree trying to do this whole toss the rope and catch it deal. It's just a pain in the butt and not fun. When I'm climbing, I always put my toe into the tree. You never want to try to put the side of your foot into the tree because it's more stable this way. Also, it keeps your aider off of the tree, giving you space to put your next foot into the aider. So you always put your toe into the tree. All right, so I'm up on the top step of my stick. This is usually when I just kind of chill and I grab my tether to go ahead and snip into the tree here. Undo my daisy chain. I usually clip it into my bridge first, and then I'll clip this around the tree. Now what I do is I do a double loop on my carabiner. What that allows it to do is it creates tension, so I can adjust this and it'll stay wherever I've got it. So I can pull it in tight to this tree and it stays there. I've also got it looped in such a way that it pulls my carabiner up tight to the tree and it's not putting pressure in an awkward angle on my carabiner, because I don't want to twist this carabiner in a way that it shouldn't be. Again, safety people will say, don't do that. And don't do that. I said, don't do that. I would never tell somebody to do something that is not safe. I'm just showing you that I do it. Now you're clipped in, and the task of getting your stick up to the next spot starts to become the question of the day. Now, I've heard it explained so many different ways. A lot of guys will say you come down and you do this number and you pull the stick up through your legs, and then you put your knees on the tree and you put the stick up here and then you climb. And I'm just going to tell you, that's probably the hardest way to do it. And the first time I tried to climb, I tried to do it that way. Terrible idea. Don't do that. What you want to do is figure out what's your dominant hand. For me, it's my left hand. That's the hand that I'm going to reach down and be holding my stick up with. So I'm going to be wanting to swing to my right side, using my left hand to grab my stick, if that makes sense. So I'm going to take my tether, I'm going to roll it over here to the right side of the tree. That way when I sit, I can pivot over here, and now I'm using my left hand to go and grab my stick, and I can easily come back onto my stick. Okay, so that's the first part. The second part is you got to make sure that your tether height is right. And what you do is you just adjust it, and then you just kind of sit. And if you can take your hand and you can easily grab the tops of your stick, then you know your tether's at the right height. So now essentially what I'm just sitting here with my crotch into the tree, just hanging out, and I can come down here, reach, grab this, okay? That's where you want to be. So once you're in this position, all I do is I grab up on my stick. Now this releases the pressure, and it's a cam cleat, so I can just move my hand down here, easily pull that rope off, and now my stick's free. Okay, now you see why you want to use a cam cleat? Don't want to use anything else but a cam cleat. Okay, now I'm going to reach around, and this is why you don't want to climb a tree that's too big. I've got my stick in one hand, my rope in the other, and I'm just going to kind of, see, I got it stuck on that bark. That's why you don't want to do a nasty bark tree. I'm also getting it stuck on a snag back there. Anyways, so you get it up about as high as you can get it, and then I take the rope on my stick and I bring it underneath of my tether. Obviously, you don't want to put it over your tether, otherwise you can't climb. I pull down a little bit, and then I want to get this foot in there first so I can start to climb. Now you notice too, because I have my tether off to the side of where I'm moving my stick never ends up in the way of my tether. So that's also another nice thing. All right, now when you get up here, you're gonna have to figure out a couple things right off the bat. If you got a straight tree, you can take your tether, loosen it, and just start to do this number, work your way up to the right height, okay? In my situation, I've got this split limb right here, and I'm gonna go up this split. So I'm gonna have to unhook my tether, but I always gotta be hooked in. So I'm gonna take my rappel line here, I'm gonna wrap it around, and I'm gonna use it as a lineman's. Okay, and the way this works is I've got my little Prusik line here, and this will create tension as long as you kind of give it a tug, snug it up. There we go. Give it a little more of a tug. Yeah, it'll hold your weight, no problem. So now I'm clipped in with that, and I'll go ahead and undo my tether. And then I can bring up, you know, obviously can bring my tether up above any limbs that I come up across. But just go ahead and wrap it around this one. Tighten her up. And unclip my rappel / lineman's loop. I'll just keep that hanging there for now because I'll probably need it again soon. So now I'm going to get back onto the top of my stick. I usually always will have my tether around head height. Now, I don't know if you can see this from down there, but this limb is leading out like this. So obviously I'm not going to be an idiot and put my tether on the right side of this limb and swing way off there because I'll never be able to get myself back up this direction. So instead, I'm just going to keep my tether, you know, kind of on the top of the limb, and I'll just check my height. Make sure I can reach my stick. Yeah, I can reach it. So I'm just going to pull my stick up, undo it, bring it up here, clip it on. Usually the trickiest part of this is trying to balance your weight and get your foot into that first step on your aider. Once you do that, then you're usually good to go. All right, so I don't know how high I am right now, but I'm definitely over 10 foot. Again, I've got limbs right here. So I'm just gonna take my rappel, clip it in. So I've got some support, undo my tether, and at this point I'm about at hunting height, so I'm just gonna do that. All right, so now I'm hanging on my tether. I'd probably put my platform up and all that jazz. This is about where I'd be hunting. From here on, we're gonna go and talk about the rappel portion of this. The first thing you wanna do when you rappel is you're gonna have to clip on your rappel rope to your tree. And I'll try to explain this more when I get on the ground. But anyways, I'm gonna clip it on. I do a single clip. I don't double wrap it because I want it to come loose. That's the whole purpose of this, is I want to be able to pull this out of the tree when I get down. I'm going to drop all my rope. Next thing I'm going to do before I forget is I'm going to take my pole rope, it has a little weight on the end, and then I'm going to drop it down, and I clip it right behind the knot on my rappel rope. I'm going to take my rappel gizmo. I don't even know what the name for this is. It's just a repelling thing. It's what people use to repel. So I clipped that onto my tether, okay? So now I'm double clipped in. I'm clipped in on my rappel line, and I'm clipped in up here on the tree. And now I'm gonna transfer the weight from my tether to the rappel rope and then take the tether off. All right, so now I'm clipped on only with the rappel rope. I'm just gonna daisy chain this up, store it away. All right, now I'm ready to repel. Whenever I take my hand and I apply tension and I pull on this prusik, it's gonna let me down. So you can go down real slow and quiet. You never really have to force it. So what I usually do is I come down to where my stick is right about knee level. So I usually just get my stick out right away. Okay, most of the times I'll wrap it up and I'll just kind of put it over top of my bridge and come down with it if you're trying to be quiet. In this case, I don't care, so I'm just gonna throw it down. On a leaning tree, you're always going to get pulled with gravity, so you never really want to fight it. You just let it pull you where it's gonna go. And just hang, okay? You don't gotta do that fancy walk down the tree stuff. You literally just drop and you let your gear do the work. Until your whole rope gets snagged up in the tree. So now I'm just gonna take and unclip my rappel setup. Store that away on the side of my saddle. And I've got my prusik line, which I have attached to a carabiner, so I unclip that. Take this off. So I just made a weight on the end of this, and this is just paracord, and then there's a carabiner on the other end. I just pull, loosen the tension, and it comes right out. You just take your rope off, unclip this, pull the whole rope off. So usually what I'll do is wrap it up and store it as I'm going. So I'll just take my prusik cord, re-wrap it around the rope so it's ready to go. Clip it in and just start looping my rope as I pull it out of the tree. And then it goes in my pouch. What I do, again, not an original idea, but I do a figure 8 around my thumb and my pinky, just so that way when I drop it, it doesn't get tangled. And that's it. So I'm gonna go over that rappel stuff again because you probably couldn't see it while I was up there. I'm tethered to the tree. So what I'm gonna do is start by taking my rope, my lineman's, whatever I've been using, and I'm gonna wrap it around the tree below my tether. I gotta get this rope out of here because it's binding up a little. And it's really important that you don't have a limb underneath of your rappel rope, or that the tree doesn't drastically get wider right beneath your rappel rope, because I'm going to be pulling it out from right here behind this knot to release the tension and pull it out of the tree. But when you have stuff beneath it, because you're trying to pull down, when you have stuff beneath it like limbs or a wider part of the trunk, it can get snagged easier. So you got to be real cognizant of where you're putting it on the tree. Also, another reason I don't like climbing rough bark trees is because this bark can catch on the rope, creates more friction, makes it harder to pull your rope out. So I always climb smooth bark trees if at all possible. So I just clip it up there, and I'll drop my rope down to the ground, and I'll take my pull rope, drop that down to the ground, and I'm gonna clip that right behind the knot. You don't want to clip it on your carabiner, you want to clip it right behind the knot. Okay. Now I'm going to take out my belay device. I actually remember what this is called now. It's just a carabiner and belay device. This is what I keep on my side for rappelling. So I'm going to take this section of rope in between my prusik and the tree, and I'm going to create a loop. I'm going to stick that loop right through my belay device like that. Just so it's just creating a loop for tension. And I put my carabiner in that, and this is what I clip to my bridge, like that. Okay. So now I got to take and transfer the tension from my tether off to my rappel rope. So to do that, you just kind of pull up like this, reach down here, pull the slack cord on through your prusik so that you have a tight line coming out here. And I've got tension on my rappel rope now, okay? So now I should be able to take my Ropeman and loosen it and pull that out of the tree. Okay, now you might find yourself kind of on an angle. You might feel a little twisted because your prusik knot is going to be on the side of your saddle. So naturally it's going to pull your side towards the tree. So all you got to do is just pull on your prusik a little bit to kind of straighten back up. Okay, then you're ready to rappel out of the tree, yada yada, all the way back down to the ground. Once you're on the ground, you're going to unclip your belay device and just store it right back on your saddle somewhere. And then you also got to get this prusik line off of your rope. So I unclip that, take it off. I'll just store it here for now. So now this rope is free and I can grab my pull rope and pull it out of the tree all the way down to the ground. And you pull your whole rope out. And then once you have this part down on the ground, you just pretty much set your whole system back up. So you clip it back on, and then I take my prusik line, wrong rope, and I just do a double loop inside to create the prusik knot. I'm gonna clip this back to my carabiner, okay, and then I just wind my rope back up, stuff it in my bag. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if this helped you at all. Thanks, Joshua, for running the camera. Comment if you've got any questions, and I'll try to make future videos on it, and subscribe if you like this kind of content. See you guys later.